Okay, we're on. Okay, Laura, thank you so much for coming on. It's so good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Well, thank you for coming. So today, another transformation. We're gonna talk about your transformation, how we met, and like the work that we've done together, and the whole process. And it's also like if you would like to share, you've been on a spiritual journey for a long time. Like you've been working on yourself. So it's a journey. It's a process,
Oh yeah.
right?
Definitely
Because
doesn't happen overnight.
it does not happen overnight. And also to the one of the main reasons why I wanted to start like this podcast is because a lot of people are going through a lot of spiritual awakening.
Mhm.
And you and I, the way we connected was because we were on the false ascension, right? That's what
Yeah.
brought us together. And of course, everything has a purpose. We got to realize that. We've learned a lot, and so yeah, so it's kind of like to help others who are going through a spiritual awakening. It's a journey. The work it's a work in progress. You're always doing the shadow work, right? It's not like you do one thing and it's like
Oh yeah.
ta-da. It's yeah, it's like the virtues, discipline, perseverance, daily habits, with grounding and the spiritual work and meditation. And the main thing is like being in our life, right? Okay, so if you want to share like the what brought us together, let's start from there.
Yeah. Well, I guess the start of our journey was with Eldora and Saman, as we were both followers of them.
Yeah.
And and then, I think we chatted, before we actually met at their retreat that was in Tulum, Mexico. And that's where we really, connected in person, discovered we were both Pisces, birthdays day apart.
Oh my God. Yes.
And then we had like a Hawaii connection, because I lived there, for 3.5 years, and I know that you've been, that's on your goal list to get there as well. So it started then, and it kind of slowly like blossomed from there. Um, and after the retreat, I think we, well, I know you kind of went through an awakening with them prior to the retreat, but it was months down the road, kind of my rose-colored glasses were taken off, and that's, I'd say, really that year, 2022, was when
Hmm.
it really, like, my spiritual development really like catapulted, because my like so many things were like light bulbs were going off every day, um,
Yeah.
of all the things that I was so blind to, not just with Elder Osman, but just, spirituality in general, and just how much false
Yeah.
light has infiltrated uh, spirituality in general. And
Yeah.
it's very hard in the beginning to discern what is false light and what is actually light. And that is something that takes, I would say, years to really hone in on. And then, it falling on your face and getting up and really just kind of, okay, like I learned something there. Like with every experience we have, it's about, okay, what am I learning from it? Why
Right.
is this coming into my reality? What is the purpose of all this? And growing from there. It wasn't something that happened overnight. I mean, I guess you could say I started my spiritual journey in high school. I became a
Mhm.
Reiki master in high school.
Wow.
I
Wow.
and I, not not knowing what I was doing really. I just,
Yeah.
and I've always been into the woo-woo stuff, I guess you could say. It's like
Yeah.
it's very deep in my family, like my aunt, my mom. Um, and a lot of, as growing up as a child, my mom kind of really put me off to it. I remember my aunt telling me, she's like, I didn't think that you steered so far from God because of what your mom put you through. Like she wasn't
Wow.
sure if I was ever going to come back,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, because I saw how the negative, and so I started associating like spirituality with like negativity. And so it
Yeah.
was a real big disconnect there. And I didn't understand what was going on. I just knew that I needed some serious protection from my own mother. And so that really was an eye-opening experience. And it continued throughout my whole life. I don't think I really fully opened my eyes to what my mother is and was until in my 30s. So
Mm,
that was one thing that catapulted me. But, I'd say the bulk of the work that I've been doing has been from 2022 to 2025, where we're here now.
yeah.
It's been a journey, and not an easy one. I don't think this journey is ever easy for anyone involved.
Yeah.
It's tumultuous, it's up and downs, and you in some ways you fight for your life, your soul,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, because where there is light, there is dark. And
Yeah.
even though the light always wins, it's like the dark still would definitely try to take you down every step of the way. So lots of mistakes made and lessons learned along the way. But um, I think that was basically the start of the massive upheaval. And then, once we got closer, you came to visit me, and you ended up giving me a session. And at that time, I was like really in a fork in the road in my life. Like I just left my husband, I moved out on my own. I fast forward a little even forward, I got into a new relationship, and I knew instinctively that I had some blockages,
Hmm.
specifically in my root and second chakra that was affecting my relationships that I, self-reflected on in my marriage, that I knew that there was definitely some unresolved issues there and some healing that definitely I couldn't necessarily do in a conscious way. Like I knew
Oh,
there
okay.
was some unconscious things there that were blocking my progression
Hmm.
in my relationships, specifically
Okay.
like my personal intimate relationships. So that led me to, us discussing getting a session for that, which, I really like I didn't know really what to expect. I honestly didn't know if I could even be quote unquote hypnotized. You know,
Hmm.
so I just kind of like rolled with it. And that's probably the best thing that I could have done, because you just kind of have to surrender to the process.
Hmm.
And you were great at guiding me through every step of the way and kind of explaining, overall what the steps were, and and made me feel comfortable and safe throughout the session. So like even though the things that I saw were really traumatized,
Yeah,
I mean,
it is. Yeah.
especially the abduction. That was like that
Yeah.
rocked my world for a good 48 hours. I was like really had to process what I actually saw that came up. Um,
Is
and
it so? I'm sorry to interrupt. So before you had the session, do you remember if you had memories before the session?
no,
No.
no.
So that was kind of like awareness. Okay. Like it
Yeah,
brought back
no.
what was
Anything that I saw in the session, it was completely
like,
nothing. Yeah,
okay.
nothing that was in my consciousness. It was
Yes. Yes.
all way deep.
So yeah.
Yeah. So it was definitely news to me. And so but it was good. And then, after the session, I had my recording that I listened to at least once a day, if not twice, in the morning and at night. And that kind of really kept me focused on like what the goal of the session was. It really wasn't about what came up per se, but
Mhm.
what the reason why it did.
Yeah.
And so to stay focused on the actual healing and what the goal was of
Yeah.
the whole session. So I really kind of put the vision, or not visions, but the scenes that came up aside and just really focused on what I needed to. And that was, clearing my, divine feminine, being mostly in my masculine my whole life. That
Yeah.
it was definitely something that was burning, because any, female who is mostly in her masculine,
Yeah.
there's an imbalance there, and you feel it. Anyone that, even same for men that are more in their feminine, like
Yeah.
whether they're conscious of the imbalance or not, it's there.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not by nature, right? So let's talk about more about the feminine energy. So before you did the subconscious work on the on the sacral, energy to unlock, because there was a block which was making you more in your masculine, right? And then afterwards, how did it affect your feminine energy? How like did it shift?
well, before the session, it was not completely, but it was really
Oh, there
blocked.
was a block. There
Like I
was a
had
block.
really
Yeah.
hard connecting with that part of
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And my what was in the forefront was my masculinity side,
Mm.
and in survival mode. And I understand why I was so in my masculine for most of my life, because I've had to be, like, in order to
Right.
survive. So it was very necessary, but I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm like, okay, like I don't need to be in my masculine anymore. Like we really need to rise this divine
Yeah.
feminine energy and heal it. And I'm sure there, the connection with my mom and how I kind of severed her
So
off.
yes, exactly.
There's
Yeah.
that connection of cutting off that, feminine energy
Yeah.
as well. So it was all tight,
Absolutely.
and it always is, right?
Oh, it's always connected. Everything is connected. Nothing is coincidental. Everything is connected and happening for a reason. I mean, the reason like we're talking about this is because we see it collectively, right? There's a huge imbalance of like the so many women, they're leading with their masculine and vice versa, like you said, and hoping to it's like be inspirational and help others is like you to balance, because each and every one of us, whether you're a woman or a man, we carry both energies, and the goal is to balance. However, when especially like when we're in a couple in union, like you now with your husband, you can be in your feminine, right? You can and let him lead and be in his masculine, right? So that to create that balance as much as possible. And then when we're on our own, like with your work, your career, and my business, yes, of course, we're juggling both, right?
Yeah,
Both
sure.
energies, and work on both energies to have the inner union and that like divine marriage.
Yeah, yeah. And when I was, doing the healing, it really was the start of that
Yes,
journey, because
yes.
later back, moving up to 2023, when I
Mm-hmm.
moved to Florida, that's when even more healing was triggered, being in Stargate 2, which is the second
The,
chakra.
the
Um,
sacral.
Yay!
So anyone who needs a sacral work, just go to Sarasota
Yes,
and be
but be
ready. Be
ready
ready.
and make sure you have insurance, because you'll be surely going to end up in the hospital.
I have to. I mean, you remembered obviously the story because you were there, but it's like it's 12:22 here. I mean, so it's like literally insurance right before, right? Like I got my insurance right before. Get to Stargate to bam, go to the emergency.
It's no joke. Like
No.
it's seriously no joke. Because I lived in other Stargates. Like when I lived in Hawaii, that was Stargate
Oh my God, yes.
12.
Yes,
And
yes,
like
yes.
I surely wasn't in the hospital when I was there. So
No. Mm.
yeah, so after moving to here, then I had further clearings with having my appendix removed. Then I had some ovarian cyst bursts twice,
All sacral, all
all
feminine
sacral.
related, right? Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I had my stillbirth, so my miscarriage, and that was the most recent this year that happened. So that was the biggest of all healings, really. I mean,
Yeah.
trauma, yes, but like the healing that triggered, like since I had the baby, like my divine feminine energy has risen like it's never been before. That's so awesome because
Yeah.
that I think she really triggered that healing within me. So
Now,
it
how
was,
do you notice the difference? So, like anyone who's new on this path, when in regards to divine, feminine energy and masculine. So you said like once you had the baby, it really put you on next level. Can you like give examples of how you noticed the shift?
yeah. Well, it's just mainly it's just a feeling within myself. Like I
Yes,
feel
energy.
more girly or more feminine. I
Yeah.
think I'm like can't get enough pink in my life, which has never been me. So that's been
I love it.
interesting. But
Yeah.
and then like just in my relationship, with
Mhm.
my husband circling back around, which is
Yeah.
again an interesting feat in itself because once I got more balanced in my divine feminine, we came back together, which is another like
Mind blowing.
mind blowing thing. But like I had to go
Yeah.
a lot of steps in order for that to circle back around and come back into my field. So I think trying to think of other examples.
It's just the energy, like even like the feeling, like the motherhood, that's feminine, obviously, more nurturing, more
Yeah.
open to receive,
Yeah.
like especially help, like more open to receive help and not have to do everything on your own, because that's
Yes. And then
the
that
doing.
when I was pregnant, it's always been hard for me. Like because I'm so used to doing everything on my own. And so like being in that receiving mode, it took an adjustment, but it was necessary. Like I needed to step back
Yeah,
and realize like, okay, like this is my time.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
because it's like the masculine is do, and then the feminine is be and receive. So that's
Yeah.
beautiful. It wasn't easy. It was definitely, traumatic and hardships and all that, like you said, but it's a huge shift. So practically, when we work together, the word is catalyst. That's what I get. It's a
Yes.
catalyst, okay? It's like, and that's actually my human design. This is what we do. I always tell people, you're never gonna be the same person after this, so be ready. So I'm the catalyst to just like, and then it's just gonna keep going and going and going and going and going. Like you said, perfect example,
Mhm.
your experience. It just led you to all this work and starting to, and it's an ongoing progress, So you're always evolving.
For sure.
It does get easier, I think. It's like once you go through major lessons, you're always evolving because you have more awareness.
Yeah.
You have
And
more awareness.
it's almost easier to cope with when you know like
Yeah.
what's happening. Like, okay, I'm going through the dark night of the soul, or okay, I'm clearing this chakra, or okay, I'm clearing, historical trauma throughout my family. Like, then it's like, okay, yeah, this is painful. It hurts. But when you put it in the perspective of, and then you know how you're like, you have an idea of how you're going to feel after it's cleared, then it's like, yeah, it's totally worth it.
Hmm.
I'd say out of
And things,
all the events in my life, probably one of the most traumatic per se would have been my stillbirth. But
oh
I
yeah.
swiftly went through the healing journey of that. A lot of it done in the hospital before she was even born. I spent 3 hours, really going deep inside of why this was all happening and what were all the
Hmm.
lessons and everything. So,
Hmm.
and then of course, it's not like, okay, yeah, I did 3 hours of healing work, I'm good. It continued on, after
Yeah.
the birth, but it's like it's funny because the general public or the people that know me that know that I went through this experience are like, how are you doing? Like, and I'm just like, I'm fine. Like,
Yeah.
like they don't understand that someone, like logically, they don't understand that someone can
Exactly.
process and go through that trauma so fast and be
Yeah.
okay at the end of it. And I get
Yeah.
it. Like most people hold on to that trauma for years and
Yeah.
don't process it fully. So, but I feel so good, which is
Yes.
crazy to say, but like I feel like she gave me so many gifts just in the 4.5 months that she was in my field that
She did. Yeah. She
yeah,
she shifted. She shifted so much. She brought people back together in such a short time. You know what I mean? She created like all these changes, all these moves and just reconnections, and it was amazing to witness, which is very, very powerful, So
yeah.
it's
And
amazing.
her energy was off the freaking charts.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like that was really, and I felt so humbled that I was even her mom for 4 months, like
Yeah.
that she like felt that I was worthy, you know,
Oh,
to come in at all because like the purity of her energy was
yeah.
not like anything I felt on this planet, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it was next level, which again, I think it just her being physically in my womb was healing my second chakra because of
Oh,
energy
yeah.
that she held. So yeah, that was quite an experience. I can say. And you went with me on
Wow.
that journey.
Yes, yes, it was very, very humbling because of the timing, It's like it was very obvious that she wanted me to be there. And it's like
Yeah, you were not leaving.
I was like, "You're not leaving Mama alone here," Because it's like, okay, I have to go now, but it's like, no, no, you're not.
Yeah, just wait another 30 minutes.
Just a
Yeah.
little bit more. So it was very humbling, and special to experience that. So honored. Yeah, definitely very, very special. It's hard to express in words,
Mhm.
such an experience. So yes,
Really.
this journey is definitely very, very humbling for sure. You know,
Mhm.
it's surrender, just surrender, faith. And also the other thing, when you said with the healing and going, it's going faster, right? Because once you start unlocking like different parts of your DNA and going up in frequency, plus ascension time is moving so much faster than where we were, 5 years ago. Um, and lessons coming faster, more experience, more wisdom, more awareness. We're just like one thick after the other, and that's what I meant. It's getting easier. The, Once you look at your shadows, once you're able to have the courage to face your demons and walk through
Mhm.
instead of hide,
Can't go around.
can't go around. You gotta go through. You gotta go walk because, like you said, we're both we're not here for love and light and love. Okay, we don't do that. We're
No, and we're
we're
not
done.
just here to go through the motions of the matrix.
No,
Work, eat, sleep. Like there's so much
no.
more to this human experience.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose is to come here and awaken and break freedom, right? Love, unconditional love,
Mhm.
and become by us doing all this, then becoming the lighthouses, the leaders to help others who are listening right now and going through the dark night of the soul and just like this is the beginning. It does get better as long as you practice the virtues, integrity, patience, perseverance, discipline, responsibility. Stay in your heart, keep it simple. So I'm gonna circle back a little bit.
Yeah.
Back to the false slide. Let's talk. Let's
We
talk
could
a little
talk for hours about that.
because, and again, part of the reason why I started doing this podcast because a lot of people, especially younger generation, they are waking up to spirituality. However, they're waking up to the false light. So we have to bring. It is our responsibility to bring awareness because everything happens for a reason, and we learned a lot of lessons, right? So like, what was your experience? What was like lesson wise in regards to, or maybe if you want to give some advice in regards to discernment, major lessons.
Yeah, I mean, I think discernment comes with almost falling on your face. I don't think I would have had the discernment I do in this now moment if I didn't go through that experience with Eldor and Savan. Like
Yeah.
that never would have triggered me to wake up to so many things. Um, when you first start in spirituality, you think, oh, this feels really good. The energy is so great. This must be good. No,
Mm-hmm.
no. That is not necessarily true. Um,
Exactly.
and I think that was like the biggest lesson, because you think like, even as an example, the archangels, they're so high up and you put them on a pedestal, or you put your
Yes.
spiritual teacher on a pedestal. That was another major
Exactly.
life
Yeah.
lesson that I've done with numerous people.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, no one is above you.
Right.
We're all here learning lessons. And even the ascended masters, archangels, all of them,
Mm-hmm.
there is a shadow side. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not something that you necessarily can see or feel, or, to start. But once you kind of go down these different rabbit holes and really understand the history, of
Mm-hmm.
them, the history
Mm-hmm.
of all the major religions, and where that stamp stems from, and
Mm-hmm.
like there's so many layers of it. And I think of spirituality as like an onion. You start out, you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
this golden
So,
onion. It's
so
so
pretty.
nice and shiny, and oh, I'm gonna learn this. And then you peel a layer and it's not as shiny anymore. And like then you really start like going kind of like, as any awakening, so many people went through an awakening during COVID, like
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
rose-colored glass. That's a separate, different kind of awakening.
Yeah.
That to the corruption that's on this planet. But then
Right.
spiritual one is almost a whole different ball game,
Mm-hmm.
because just like the same discernment you need to use when it comes to the food we eat, or the
Right.
things they've been spraying on us, like it all is kind of tied together. I think continually using, or like, I think discernment as like a muscle. You have to work
Yeah.
it out. You have to
Yeah.
really like make it bigger and grow it to really, yeah. I mean, it's
Work a
not
bit.
something that people are just necessarily have, or a lot of people would say intuition, that's
Yes.
part of
Yes.
your
Yes.
discernment. Um,
Right.
but I think a lot of times, especially in the beginning, people ignore that little voice inside of them, that discernment,
Right.
that thing in their stomach that just feels off, or feels off in their heart, like they just ignore it or push it aside. That's the thing you need to listen to, like
Yeah.
every time, because it will never steer you wrong.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that took me so long to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so many people, I think, too. You know, and then I start to really catch on. Like every time I don't listen to my intuition, I get screwed. So like, wake up,
Exactly.
Laura. It's
No,
like
exactly.
you go through these situations so many times where it's like, okay, I do not want to learn this lesson again. And I'm really
Yeah,
going to listen to my intuition from here on out.
yeah. That's a good point because until you learn that lesson, the universe will keep testing you over and over. And the lesson is gonna come in a different person, different place, different shape and form, but you're not gonna escape it. It's gonna keep circling around, right? And this is not so the false light, and it's also like every day, like I don't know, single people dating, meeting new people, business, right? Relationships, making choices, places. It's everywhere. If you don't practice discernment and if you don't listen to your intuition, you're gonna miss those red flags. And when you do start practicing, you're gonna see them right in your face right away, you know, and
Yeah.
the process is gonna be faster. And like you said, the other lesson is putting someone else above you, putting them on a pedestal like we did, right? Because which is very, very common in the new age, false light, these gurus, a lot of people, what's happening is they're looking for a savior, right?
Yeah. Big
They're
time.
looking for a savior, whether it's the Christians waiting for Jesus to coming off the sky or or whatever. They're every like and same thing in the spiritual community and the new age. They put these gurus like we did, like in Bronze Smile, we put them on a pedestal and thinking they're above us, they know more. I thank God I had the opportunity to be there in person. And when I was in their house seeing all these books, and I'm like, wait, they're just reading these books. They're just reading these books. So maybe they're not more intelligent or more
Right? It's like the veil comes off of the Wizard of Oz, and you're like, oh, so this is what you really are doing.
So you're literally just reading books and like so just telling people it was such an aha moment. I was laughing. I'm like, okay, I'm here for a reason.
Yeah. But it's like
Yeah,
the important thing is when you have those light bulb moments, you listen to them. You don't just ignore
yeah.
them again and put those glasses
No,
back on.
no, you suffer if you ignore it. You get slapped in the face. And the more you ignore, the more you avoid the work and the more you ignore, the more you're gonna suffer, especially right now with things like moving so fast. It's like let's go because of the split, right? The ascension, we have like the true God creator ascension versus the um, false light. So it's like you don't have time anymore. You got to do the work. And which side are you on?
Yeah.
We're like going opposite direction. And we both were spiritual junkies, with all our symbols, your painting. And so I came to visit you. We had the 88. I mean, we're still in numerology, right? So we love the numbers. And that's another thing, actually, I want to mention it out there to be careful and be mindful with like people who are just waking up to this. That like you and I, we all love numerology, right? 1111, 222, magical. But we also have awareness and we have discernment. So the false light use numerology as well. So don't make decisions just because you see 1111 or 888. They're fun. I take tons of pictures every day with them. We
Yeah.
share. Oh, it's 555, whatever. But it's just fun. And that's it. We're not saying, oh, it's 1111, we have to take this path. Oh, it's a 222, we have to do. That's giving your power away. That's what the false light wants at the end of the day, right? And that's
Yeah.
another lesson, right? Like when we woke up to the true God, the true spirituality, it was a whole circle. It circled back to us. That it's like it's simple. It's back to us, and that's all we need. All the answers are within us.
Yeah. And I think a lot, like in my spiritual journey, I didn't really understand what that meant. You know,
Mm,
I think you have to like, what do you mean the answers are in my, you know what I mean? Like that, it seems like on the surface, like, oh, that's easy said than done. But I think as you go, you know,
Mm-hmm.
every answer that you, or every question that you have, the universe will answer. But you
Mm-hmm.
almost need to verbalize it, and it will come. Like it will
Mm-hmm.
come to you. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
you don't necessarily have to ask a guru or
Mm-mm. No.
your therapist, or you know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
they will come. The answers are within you, but you have to be
Yeah.
patient. Patience,
Yeah.
and that's obviously something that people have to learn. It's not going to necessarily, you're going to have the answer in 24 hours, but it will come to
No.
you eventually.
No, because that's another topic. It's like you gotta release control,
Mhm.
have faith, and trust in divine timing. So ask and you shall receive. It's even in the Bible. Let's ask. It's always like you said, you have to ask. Ask, you shall receive in divine timing. It will come to you. And it will come to you the least expected, right? Like when you quiet your mind and just be in your own space, the answers are always gonna come to you.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point of surrender, because I think that in itself is another really hard lesson for people. I know from like my childhood, and like that need to control is so deeply ingrained in so many people, because that's what makes us feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
But in my recent lessons learned this year, with the whole pregnancy, like I really had to surrender to this whole process that was happening with her, um, because I didn't have any control other than
Mm-mm.
the things that I could do, which, listening to the recording you made me for her, and
Mm-hmm.
keeping my energy high, eating good
Yeah,
food. Those are things that I could control.
exactly. Yes.
But everything else, I really had to let go and surrender, and just know that whatever happened, whether she was to live or die, that it was all meant to happen for a reason. And even though I didn't understand it in that now moment, I knew
Mm-hmm.
eventually the answers would come within. And they did. Yeah.
Exactly. It always does. And this is actually good advice to point because there are a lot of people who struggle with this. The type of people who are in their minds a lot.
Mhm.
And also, actually did a video this yesterday. I haven't posted it yet. And when it comes to control, OCD, everything's gotta be like that. That always circles back to childhood subconscious patterns of
Mhm.
um, either have to it have to be perfect to be loved, like get good grades and be win trophies or whatever. Then you earn recognitions from your parents and everybody else. So you have to earn love, not just be loved and love unconditionally, right?
Yeah.
So that shows up a lot in successful people. And also going through situations. So let's say people who have suffered from childhood trauma that outside was chaotic and they couldn't control it. So they turned the inner world super controlled, super perfectionist because that's what they can control. And that's how OCD develops and perfectionism, right? And now, especially right now, this year, where we're heading is like that the universe is teaching us, no, no, okay, we need strategy. We talk about this all the time. We need a strategy. We need to plan certain things, right? We have to have some type of structure, discipline, planning. So I say a bit of structure, a little planning, but a lot of flow and a lot of faith because you're gonna need it.
Yes. 100%. I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been known as a planner, and a lot of that I've had to surrender because I realize that you can't plan for everything, and sometimes you really just have to flow. And I one epiphany I had this year was like
Mm-hmm.
when I was going through the pregnancy, and even the fact that I was even pregnant was such a hard turn left. Like that was not planned. That was not anything I was trying to manifest. That was like literally the last thing on earth that I wanted to have happen. And as
Mhm.
much as I like had this plan of my life and this is where I was going, no, the universe bitch slapped me and were like, you're going this way. Like, and so it's like, okay, like so many like of these events happen, whether it's a car accident, a divorce, a job loss, like these shaking, life altering
Yeah,
events,
yeah, yeah.
very special attention to because that's the
Yes.
universe's way of steering you in a very specific direction for a very specific reason.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for bringing this point.
Yeah.
That's where transformation happens if you choose to, when you're at rock bottom and the universe throws you the other, like you mentioned, right? And most people will react as if like, oh, why did I lose my home? Why did I become homeless? Why did I lose or get pregnant, lose my child? Like, why did it happen to me? And fall into victim mode, right? Which you and I both know following the Christic that we have the awareness of where these victim modes come from. They're called the VV implants, which is from the false light. So, hopefully more people realize this and look into it. However, it's not an excuse. We still have to take responsibility. Why is this happening for me? And it's always you're at a crossroads. Like you either go deep in the abyss. It's either this car accident, disease, right? Like all of these that we went. Um, Either you're gonna get to choose to let it drag you and the hell pit, the abyss,
Yeah.
or you're going to say, okay, this is meant to, by the universe to transform me. That's when transformation happened, and you just rise like a phoenix. And you're gonna rise stronger. You're gonna build resilience, right?
Mhm.
Like we're resilient. That's you know what? And
I know exactly what you were thinking in that moment, and I was thinking the same thing.
I'm like,
We'll keep it PG
it's PG.
for the podcast.
We'll keep it PG for now.
Yep.
But resilience is one of the main virtues of the Christic that you know I talk about. It's where does resilience come from? You go through these hardest life lessons. That's how you're gonna build resilience, and make you tough and stronger. Now we're at a point. It's like no matter what, the sky could be falling, the earth could be like, yeah, we got this.
Honestly, yeah, I really feel that way. Like, no matter what life throws,
Yeah,
I'm like, I got this.
we got this
We got
because
this.
we do because we have been doing the work and we've been rising stronger and stronger. It's like going to the gym, working out. It's like your muscle becomes stronger and stronger,
When
become
you
more
talk about
patient.
spiritual hygiene, like it's almost like that spiritual muscle that you have to build, like you're going to the gym.
Yes, yes, and also practice energy hygiene, right? Like what I preach about every single
Mhm.
day. It's very, very important to have a balance. If you're feeling low energy, if you're feeling low, drained, ground, meditate, listen to your body, right? We talk about this all the time when it comes to our body. Like the body knows first what's going on. The mind will follow, but body always comes first. So do you want to share anything about this in regards to the body versus the mind? Like for people who are listening.
Yeah. And it's a very good point, and I think some are very in tune with their body and others are not. The
Hmm.
example that is like glaring in my brain right now is my sister who just went through an appendix removal, and it was a complicated one. It was
Yeah.
really called complicated appendicitis. So her lessons were a little bit stretched out for 2 months, but like her lack of awareness of her body is what caused it to be complicated because she didn't go to the
Um,
hospital fast enough.
oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And I think our body is always talking to us, whether we're
Yes.
listening to it or not. And I
Yes.
think most people, especially men, ignore. their body. Like,
Oh yeah.
like the pains, the whatevers, oh, I'm sick. They never want to go to the doctor. And I can't say that I'm a huge fan of doctors either,
No.
but they come in handy, especially when you need surgery.
Well, what if you want to get to the root too? Like if you need, so I'm equally scientific and spiritual, as you know, and I'm very, very holistic. However, that being said, you need certain diagnosis. You need, sometimes you might need certain tests, blood work, or so I'm all for it. And then at least you can decide which way you're gonna go.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially if you need surgery or something breaks, absolutely. There's not, you break a bone, there's no holistic way. No matter how much I have my vitamins here, but how much
Exactly.
turmeric I'm gonna take, it's not gonna put it together, but it will help with inflammation. So there's gotta be some type of, like equation there. But it's a good point when it comes to men, because as women, we're more in tune. We are the portals, right? We are the connection from the divine to earth, and that's why we have babies.
Yeah.
Because they come through us from God to earth. Men are more designed to be from their logic and their ego. Doesn't mean that they don't have intuition. It's just by design. They're the pillars of that are grounding forces for the earth. They keep us grounded. But it's always so. Anytime there's a pain, always two things, right? The emotion. There's an emotion behind it. If it's on the left, it's one thing. It's on the right, it's another thing. And the environment, right? It's always, what are you eating? Where are you, where do you spend your time? Who are you spending your energy with? Because that's also part of the environment, because we're energetic beings. So if you are in a toxic relationship, or you are in a toxic job, a toxic family, if that's part of your environment, because you're absorbing energy, and that's going to be stored in your body. So disease, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think on the spiritual journey, you also get less of a tolerance for people that it's not a lifting of a up that you feel when you're around them. It's a bring you down type of mentality. And
I'm like, no.
I have such an aversion to it. And it's not like the ego thing. Well, if you're not going to benefit my life, you're not going to be in it. It's not like
No.
that. It is strictly toxicity energetically. Like, again, back to my mom, like anytime I would be in her presence, I would get headaches because of her energy. And I, for so many years, I ignored it. But then you get to the point where it's like, okay, I cannot ignore this anymore. And then it just becomes like so glaringly obvious. And it honestly, like, I think as a society, we're programmed to believe, oh, well, they're your parents, or oh, they're your siblings.
Right.
You have to have them in your life, or that.
Yeah.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah. Not if
Because
they're
if you,
toxic.
100%. So I think you, in your spiritual journey, you almost go through like a purge of people
You do.
in
You
your
do.
life.
Yeah.
I know I did. Like,
Yes, we all have to, because you're out of resonance with those people. You're listening to different frequencies, to different music. So with certain people, you're gonna have compassion and understanding, but it depends. It depends on their heart, right? It depends on that. And also it's like, okay, we try to help provide solutions, as like on a daily basis. Okay. We are solution based, and it was like, okay, you're going to, so we have compassion, like understanding, and we have love and compassion. Here's what you need to do, here's the solution. But if they choose to stay in victim mode, not taking responsibility of their health, you know everybody has a choice. We all are given choices, and 24 hours in a day. But if they're keep constantly choosing the wrong things, constantly choosing, to stay in there, and then they're gonna like drain you and drag you down with their energy, you know. So it's our responsibility, especially as empaths. We are by nature giving and big hearts. So boundaries, practice boundaries are a must. Say no, and always be, always make sure that your energy is on an overflow. Forget half full. Yeah, no, forget that. You have to have an overflow flow, because if you show up in a half full, then it drains it's faster, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And we do have to take care of our energy first, just like on the airplane. We do have to put our masks first, because how are we supposed to help others if we don't have this overflow and an energy top, you know? This is all energy hygiene.
Yeah. I think even, and this is a balance that I'm still mastering, is my kids and family. Like, because being a mom, it's like they want to take, and you want to give, but you can't if your cup is empty or even half full. And then you start getting into resentment and anger and frustration and unhappiness. And it's because you're not doing the self-care for yourself first, like you said, putting that oxygen mask on, which it can spiral you into so many, downward spirals, that it's just like, okay. And having that wherewithal to realize, like, I need alone time. I need self-care. I need to meditate. I need to ground. Like, and I don't need these like once a week. I need these on like a
Oh,
daily
no,
basis, to
absolutely.
maintain, so you can be the giver, you know.
Exactly.
And so
And
yeah.
show up. Yeah. And so energy hygiene, like
Mhm.
you said, it's equally important as our physical hygiene. We don't shower, hopefully, once a week, right? We
Exactly.
don't we don't brush our teeth once a week. We don't take care of our hair once a week. Same thing with our energy. It's got energy hygiene has to be a priority. And you know how much I emphasize on this on a daily basis. I will not stop. It's like that, to raise awareness about it. It's gotta be on a daily basis where you have a balance of your work, your home life, and meditate around alone time, whatever that looks for you, work out, like there's a stretch, music, meditation, affirmation, journal, eating healthy, taking a bath,
Reading a book.
reading books.
Yep, that's one of my
Exactly.
self-cares.
Oh my God. I can't believe it's been an hour already. It's like, oof, I get
I know. Time
okay.
always flies when we're together.
Wow, we have so much to talk about, but this is awesome. Thank you so much. Do you have anything else that you would like to share to wrap it up as a
Um,
last message for people who ah, are going through this journey? You're not alone.
no, not at all. And I think mainly my message would be to keep going for yourself. You're worth it.
Yeah,
You
keep
are
showing up.
worth it. You are worthy to be free
Mm.
of trauma and
Oof.
be the best version of yourself. Because on the other side of it, and I'm not saying this like I'm done doing the work, because
No, no.
it's a life journey. It's
Yeah,
forever.
yeah.
It's not like, oh, well, I did 20 hours of self work, like I'm done. No, it's not like, it's forever, really.
It's an
Um,
investment. You're investing time, energy, and money in yourself, really, as with all these choices.
and the best part is, as you heal yourself,
Mm-hmm.
healing your children, you're healing your
I,
parents, you're healing your ancestors. Like, it's just,
yeah,
it's like that, pebble in a pond, that ripple effect that just whoosh, and
yeah,
you see, when you start seeing the difference, not only in yourself but others around you, like your children,
yeah.
your
Like I
spouse.
guess
Yeah, that in itself is worth it.
and it's also affecting the land too, everywhere you are,
Oh
right? So
yeah, I
you're
didn't even
healing
think of
the
that.
land.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all about remembering. Remember who you are.
Exactly.
I love it. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much, Laura. It's been
Thank
a
you.
pleasure. Thank you for your time. Good to see
Anytime,
you.
girl. Love
Thank
you.
you. Love you
You're
too.
welcome.
Bye.
Bye.